Hey, it's Gil from
The Mind Buzz Podcast.
today's Mind Culture and Social Podcast. And you're listening to Pods Like Us.
Hello and welcome to Pods Like Us. I'm Martin Quibell, known to my friends as Marv, and this time I am joined by B Nicole from the show Buried on the Tundra. Hello B, thank you for speaking with me today. Hope you're okay.
Hi, Marv. I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine, very much. So, what was your introduction to podcasting in the first place?
So I started with Crime Junkies, which is a big true crime podcast. So
It is.
I kind of then snowballed from there to all the rest of the true crime podcasts and just kind of listening to them, especially during COVID and being stuck at a desk working all the time.
Well, I've been stuck inside a work van all the time listening to people's podcasts, as a lot of people know. You have to do something while you're driving.
Yes.
So from there, then, did that sort of? So was that the inspiration then to starting the show? Because I've listened to every episode, so it's a great format. It's sort of, I don't know whether short is the word really. It's a nice, really bite-sized show that gives you all the details on different cases. And the cases all seem to be based in Alaska, which hence the title "Buried on the Tundra."
Mm-hmm.
So, how did you go from listening to those crime shows to then creating your own?
So I looked up if there were any Alaskan-based true crime podcasts, which there is a few, but there were none that were geared towards the region in which I live in, which is the Western region, and none that really focused on the Alaskan Natives. So I wanted to make sure that I was focusing on the Alaskan Natives and the region in which I live in, which is pretty remote. It takes about one jet ride in to where I'm at, which is the hub city of Bethel. But then all the other little villages that I talk about are another bush plane ride from here to there. So I wanted to try to give facts about each village along with the hub city and some of the bigger cities while still focusing on the Alaska Natives.
Yeah, I love that about the show, where at the beginning of all the episodes, usually based on the area where the episode is looking at the crime from, you will give statistics on population, on the what percentage of the population is unemployed, and lots of different statistics about those areas. And I think that puts it all into really good context. Then, in relation to the crimes that are being committed, the people that have had those crimes, the victims, and also the criminals themselves.
Yeah, I think it's always surprising. Alaska, for how big it is, there are only about 700,000 people in the state. So even
Yeah,
going down into the smaller little areas, we still have huge crime rates. So I wanted to make sure that that was kind of portrayed in each episode.
absolutely. Because I've only seen it on maps and the like, but it looks like one of the largest, if not possibly the largest state in the US.
Hmm. Yeah,
But it's
it's
also, yeah,
huge.
and it's quite remote from the rest of America, rest of the US states as well.
It is definitely different. I Before I came out here, so I came out here 10 years ago. Uh,
Yeah.
I didn't know that there were places still in the United States that didn't have running water. So many of the villages do not have access to running water. And so they either have to collect rainwater or they have to go ice chip, which would happen around this time, but right now it's melting because we've had a little bit of a heat wave. It's been
Wow.
about 40 degrees Fahrenheit one day this week, but it will be in the negatives very soon.
Wow, that is very different to this time of the year in that area. That's amazing. That's wow. Yeah, different. So once you decided to make the show, how did you go about then deciding on the format of the show, and how do you actually record the show?
So the format I've kind of messed around with, so it's changed from the earlier episodes, but I wanted to make sure that I included some of the Yupik culture because the Alaskan Native culture that I'm in is Yupik or Chupik. Um,
Yeah.
and it's very common that we do a land acknowledgement for anything that is done on native land here. So there's a land acknowledgement in there. I included some of the Yupik in the greeting. And I try to say some of the Yupik words. Obviously, I'm not a native Alaskan, so I can't pronounce some of them, but I try my best to find some sort of recording online. Um, or I have a few Alaskan Native friends who will help me out. And
Okay.
then
I should actually have started the show saying, "What is it? Waka waka." Is that it?
Waka.
Waka
Waka means
waka.
hello.
Is that it? Hello.
Hmm.
I should have said that at the
And
beginning of the show.
I know. I think it might have been a little too loud when I first recorded it. I think it might have scared people when they first listened to it. So I did
You
try to
get used
re-record
to
that,
it.
so it wasn't. Yeah. And then Bioha means goodbye. So those are my two
Okay. Wow. That's lovely.
standard Yupik that I use.
So how do you record the show then? Do you do it with your computer, with the computer and the microphone that you've got there?
I
Well,
actually use
normally.
an iPad. So I use the Anchor app
Okay.
and I do everything on Anchor. And I have my mic and my headphone and my little soundboard. So it's also small so I can travel with it. I do a lot of traveling for work. I get to go out and work in each of the villages that I have with the schools. So I did want to make sure that I could bring it with me if I needed to, or if I'm going to Chicago to visit my family, I can take it with. If you listen to the Bigfoot episode or Hairy Man, my nephew's in the
Yeah.
episode because I brought it with me. So
Yes, I enjoyed that. Your guest was delightful.
I don't think I have him convinced about the Hairy Man just yet.
No, no. You might do eventually. You might do.
Yeah.
So, do you record it in bits then? Do you record, or do you come up with the whole thing as one and then go all the way through the episode?
Yeah. So I will write my script in my notes on my phone. And so if I know it's going to be a busy week, I might do like location at facts one day, then the facts or the events. And then also, I try to find as much as I can about the victims. I don't really want to harp on who committed the crime because they've had enough publicity. They get their name out there all the time. We really don't know about who it happened to. So I really try to deep dive and see if I can find anything about the people who it has affected directly.
I think that's a good way of looking at it because, like you said, I think the criminals themselves have already had enough publicity. And sometimes I think that the general newsweb network will probably look too much into the actual event itself, almost sensationalism in essence,
Mhm.
which forgets the actual victim and the crime and what has happened to the victim themselves, really, and who the victim is. I think that's so. I think it's good that you're doing that, and I think it's also great that you're. A lot of the time, it's about the native people as well, which I think is a great thing.
Yeah, I know I try not to use the first name of the perpetrator or person who's committed the crime. So
Yeah.
usually they will just be last named, and then I won't title it if it is a murder. The murderer's name, I will always title it the victims, and I will usually call them by first name too, just to kind of set the
Yeah.
difference.
Well, then you are making it more emotional for people then because then they know the full name of the actual victim, and I think that makes it more important or pushes more into people's hearts, really, and minds.
Mhm.
So, you've done the recording. I'm guessing that you then, because you've done it with Anchor, you've probably found the show music and the sounds through that as well, have you? Through Anchor, I'm guessing that that's got all sound on it because I don't use Anchor personally.
Yeah, Anchor has all of the editing tools on there, so I just use what they have.
That's great. So, um, is that where you got the logo from as well? Was that from Anchor as well?
No, I actually created it. So I didn't release the podcast till January, but I created it in October. The picture is from blueberry picking. So berry picking is really popular, especially in the fall time. So I went
Yeah,
blueberry picking, and that's my picture. And then I used a few filters on it and put the words on there.
that's great. So,
Hey there, this is Bobby with the Rock Guys Podcast, and you are listening to Marv Smooth on the Pods Like Us podcast. Check him out.
you've sort of touched on what got you started and thinking about making the show. Um, So when you ask for people to contact you, because I know that you've asked for people to suggest cases to them, I'm guessing that obviously all the cases therein would have to be based in that area, where you are, like Bethel and in basically in is it the Western Alaska? I think you said.
Hmm. Yep, Western Alaska. So I've done cases in a lot of villages. I did get a case. I've only had two case submissions for requests. One was Kasiglik, the case of Leanne Berlin, and another one is an older one. And I'm really struggling to find anything online or in any sort of text for me to look up for. I think his name was Billy Nikoroff. I'm not 100% sure. I'll have to check it, but it's really hard to do the research out here because of the very low um, media that each case receives.
Yeah, I'm also guessing that it's probably, I mean, I'm only guessing here, difficult to get hold of the information, whereas if you were in another area, it would be easy to get hold of because I'm guessing that the police, they probably don't use computers or the internet quite as much as the police in some other areas and countries.
Yeah. So the one case that I just did about a double homicide in Kipnuk, there were maybe three articles, and they were all the same articles, just distributed by different news facilitators. So if the main, sorry, if the main news reporting source we have out here, which is KYUK, covers it, I'll have some information. But if they don't, then I really have to dig.
Yeah, that case that you just mentioned, that almost sounds like it was a circular. Then, if it was basically the same article in all three news sources, I know that back in the day when I used to work for a newspaper back in the 90s, and back then you used to quite a lot. You would get information given to you by one source, and the same source. It'd basically be a press release, is what they're called, and then you base what you write on what you've got there. And very often, you wouldn't actually be able to get hold of individuals to get more information than what is on there. So they've technically just done their variation of what is on that press release, essentially.
Yeah. And so really I I don't like to use Facebook or Wikipedia because they're not very reliable, but sometimes that's the only reliable source I have.
It's difficult when you're in an area where you can't get hold of information as readily. And I'm guessing that even these days it's difficult to get information from the legal services because they'll just think, well, it's just another podcaster trying to make a program, and they might be a bit standoffish from that sort of information. So it's a difficult thing to do, really. But
Yeah.
you do a great job with what information you can get hold of. It's fantastic, and like I said, I like the bite size idea behind it as well, where it's just within 7-9 minutes or so, and it gives all the information that you need to know. And in a way, it almost lets you then go off and sort of think about that information and think for yourself, I've got all that information. What do I think about this? So it almost brings out the inner, dare I say, detective in yourself a bit only murders in the building sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I kind of I would love people to Google anytime they're listening to see the locations. I do a site map. So if you're on the Buried on the Tundra website, there is a map that it will take you to Google Maps, and there will be all the locations of each crime that's been committed, so that you can get a little bit of a layout of the state and exactly where I'm talking about.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, I think it's a great idea that it's interactivity. Then, if they're listening to your show and they are able to do that, go onto your website and go on the actual page that's based on that case that you're talking about. I think that's a good thing. To have that interactivity. I think it's brilliant.
Thank you.
It's all right. It's fine. So,
G'day. This is Matty C from the Astros Fantasy Football Podcast, way down in Australia. And we love getting to listen to Marv meet new podcasters from all over the world here on the Pods Like Us podcast.
okay, so what podcast do you actually listen to now? Are you still just listening to shows that are crime related, or do you have a cross section of shows that you listen to?
Most of the time it is true crime related. My poor fiance has probably heard it all. I have added Pods Like Us to my list. I'm very
Thank
excited.
you very much.
Yep.
You need plenty of time for that one.
So, yeah, I do have a lot of true crime, and I did do a lot of, there's a true crime BS that I have been a little obsessed with. It is about Israel Keys, who was a serial killer, not really well known because he wanted to be left out of the media. He actually requested that to the FBI, and he did commit a murder in Alaska. So I did kind of deep dive into that podcast recently.
Yeah. So, what advice would you give to people actually starting a podcast for the first time?
Just keep with it. Sometimes it's not going to be the best thing. At least it's not going to feel good, but it will get there. Sometimes it starts out a little rough.
Like we said earlier on, you get used to it eventually, and you get better at these things. You know, you might have a few niggles when you start, technology wise, and getting used to where to place yourself, where the mic will pick you up, and these sort of strange things that you don't think about until you try it for the first time.
Yeah,
So,
and adding extra audio and trying to adjust that is always sometimes comes out to be a little bit of a disaster, but gotta learn from it.
yes, I've done that a couple of times towards the beginning. When I first started putting inserts into my show, I made the mistake of I'll have it up on the editing software to edit it, and then of course you put one thing in, and then sometimes I forgot to move stuff or move things across, and you'd suddenly have the show playing over the top of a promo that I've placed into the show, and somebody would point out to me and say, "Yeah, you've done this," or they can't hear themselves, and there's blank for a minute because I've moved it across too far and not realised, and it's. Yeah, when you put little bits in, like when you do with inserts and little bits of music, and when you record separate bits and then put them in order on there, it can get a bit time consuming and a bit tricky to line everything up exactly and perfectly. But you get there, and I think it works perfectly on your show. I've never heard anything negative on your show at all.
Yeah, I actually have, so it's a soundboard, and I accidentally it says electronic on here, but it sounds like auto tune really bad. And I did that for one full episode, and I didn't realize until afterwards. So I had to go back and re record the whole episode.
So you came out sounding like Cher on Believe.
Yeah, a little T-Pain wasn't the best, but luckily it got fixed that day. It wasn't too long of a mistake.
But then again, when you get new equipment, you don't know these things, do you? You know.
No.
I know when I've recorded with bands before, and I've gone through and I've recorded things, I've been, oh, that's brilliant. And then I've turned around to someone and I said, oh, what did you think of that? I thought that was a good take. And the engineer turned around to me and they said, oh, I thought you were just practicing. And then I've had to play it all over again, you know. Thank you very much. Great. So, where can people find the show and get in touch with you?
Yep. So Buried on the Tundra is on Amazon Music, Spotify, Apple Podcast. I think there's a radio and a few other apps. And if you want to contact me, you can go to buriedonthetundra.com or buriedonthetundra@gmail.com. And then there is a Facebook page, a TikTok, and an Instagram as well, all Buried on the Tundra.
Yeah. And they're all great pages as well and kept really well. I like all the bits that you post up as well that, you know, are always posted up in conjunction with the episodes that you put out. And, you know, it's another part of that interactivity that I think social media is perfect for with podcasting.
Yeah, I've just recently started TikTok, and that has been a learning curve. I'm a millennial, so I don't understand many of the Gen Zs, but I'm getting there.
No. I'm still not on TikTok, and I'm still wondering how it works, and I'm a bit worried about it. So I might have to try it.
Yeah, it's interesting.
So I've heard. Anyway, B, thank you very much for speaking with me. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you.
And to pull the curtain away, this is my first recording of a normal show for a good while as well. I've been doing all Christmas-related shows for the last few weeks.
Hmm. Yeah, unfortunately, I start traveling, so I will be on a break for the next 2 weeks.
When this episode comes out, you will be back again.
Okay, perfect.
Because pulling the curtain away again, I'm not releasing any for the next couple of weeks after Thursday.
Okay.
Anyway, thank you, B, and thank you everybody for listening. You can find, well, you're listening to Pods Like Us. You know where you can find the show to listen to, and you can find the show on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Just look for Pods Like Us. I'm not on TikTok yet. I'll probably get there eventually. And you can also go and look for show notes and other things that I do at themarvzone.org. Anyway, thank you very much for listening, and hope you listen again to another episode of Pods Like Us. First of all, B, I was just wondering. So, I'll be a bit cheeky first, and because I'm putting together a show that's coming out on Thursday, and I wondered if there's anything about Christmas that you love.
Ooh, I love the traditions.
Yeah,
Going and seeing the Christmas lights, or my grandmother used to make kolachkis, so I make kolachkis now for Christmas every year.
that's lovely. That's nice. So what's a kolachki? What is that?
It's a Polish cookie. It is kind of like a pastry dough made with ice cream, is how we make it. And then you put just some sort of pie filling inside.
That sounds really
Sometimes they
nice.
look
That's
like
lovely.
pinwheels. You kind of pinch the sides.
Yep.
Some people make them that way.
Sounds really nice, though. It's lovely. So, are you okay with the notes that I sent?
Yeah.
Yep,
Yes.
they're okay. Pretty straightforward. Yeah, I should have
Yeah.
thought. Okay, right. Right, we'll get going, and we'll do the whole fakery of the introduction, pretending that I've not spoken to you for the last 5 or 6 minutes.
Okay. Sounds good.
Was that okay, B?
Yeah, that was awesome. Thank you so much. But thank you. Thank you so much for listening.
It's great. I enjoy it. It's a nice little diversion from all the other long shows, shall we say.
Yeah, I'm not very long-winded. I'm
No,
not that long-winded, and I don't have a co-host, so it's
no.
just going to be nice and short.
I like a lot of the shorter shows. I mean, there's a rock show that's done by somebody in Canada that's called the Rock Guys, and that's where he just does. I think he does around 15 minutes at the most, and it's just the basics of the history of the band, their discography, and then he'll pick one album or one song, and then a bit of trivia, and then that's it. It's quick, in and out, gives you what you need to know. Then you go off and you listen to the band and decide whether you like them or not. And I sort of like the shorter format in some ways for a lot of these things, because it does allow you to. It just gives you the information, and in a way, I think your show is great in the fact that it allows the listener to then go and decide for themselves and take that information away, as opposed to some longer form true crime shows. they can be opinionated, and then you've got that person's opinion there that's sort of almost making you decide what you think, in a sense.
Yeah. Just in case my employer were to grab it, I didn't want to put any of my opinion in there because,
No.
I mean, I don't want to differ from my employers, but I do have a few opinions about a few things. So I did do, when I did the bonus episode, sorry, the bonus episode for Clutuck, I did put my opinion in there, but that's probably the only opinion I've given.
I can understand it, though. I mean,
Just-
it's they're all very strong subjects, so
Yeah.
you're bound to have an opinion. But at the same time, the fact that you are willing to put over an unbiased show, I think is a great thing. And we're in a world where the news media is not unbiased, should we say?
Mhm. Yeah.
Absolutely. Actually, while we've still got a few minutes or so left, if you want to, we can sort something out for continuing to promote you. So, if you want to say a quick tag or something or promo, I can place it into episodes in the future. Then, if you want me to, and then it could promote your show then online in the future, if you want to. So, something along the lines of. I don't know, something like, hey, I'm B Nicole from Buried on the Tundra and you're listening to Pods Like Us, or something along those lines. And then I can just put that into shows then in the future. Okay?
Yeah. So this is B Nicole from Buried on the Tundra, and you're listening to Pods Like Us. Good?
Brilliant. I've got that for the future now.
Okay.
Brilliant. In fact, I'm going to mix that tonight in with sleigh bells and put it in a Christmas episode that goes out tomorrow.
Perfect. And if you have any
There you
snippets you want me to put into anything, just let me know, and I might even do like a trailer episode if you let me know when you're going to release this one,
Okay.
so I can send them over to you.
I think it will be the. So, a second. The 16th of January, I think, this one, because I think it'll be the first episode. Okay. Okay, right. I'm going to press stop for recording, and then if you stay online, that should.